Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me tonight are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Mike Haspil, Wyatt Turk from Jack of Clubs Painting, and Chris Metzen, former Blizzard developer. What's happening, everybody?
Yo, dog, great to be here as usual.
And Taro Adun.
RBMK reactors can't explode.
What's up?
Two of those were factually accurate.
So yeah, here it is. This is the episode we talked about, guys. The crew's here, plus very special guest and friend of mine here, local to California, Chris Metzen. How you doing, man?
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me on, guys.
Thanks for being here, bro.
A lot of folks might not know this, but you're actually a 40K hobbyist, which I'm sure we'll get to, or a Warhammer hobbyist, rather. I don't want to pigeonhole you. Excuse me.
Exactly. Well, it's funny. Like a lot of people, I love 40K in particular. I've been playing with my friends since, God, what was it, like 87, 88 when Rogue Trader came out? Like it just blew our minds, and I've kind of loved it ever since. Played, God, I don't think I played third and fourth. I think I phased out on and wildly jumped back in around the end of fifth, and I've been cracked out ever since. They even got me hooked on Sigmar. I'll tell you, I really wasn't interested in old school fantasy, but I kind of knew the lore and things like that. But man, when Sigmar relaunched, they hooked me all over again. So I've been having a blast with that too.
I'm currently pretty stoked, waiting on my Sylvanus to re-release here very short.
I don't mean to cut you off there, Rob, but do you play Titanicus, Chris?
Not yet. I have, God, dude, a stack of boxes about this high that I have yet to begin to model. So soon, very soon.
Get that number up to like 12 people.
That's what everybody says. Everybody says, I have it at home. Yeah. I haven't put it together. Yeah. Everybody has it.
It's like, I love everything about it. It's just getting off the bench and actually making it happen. I don't know where my motivation is. I'll tell you what, but I did get my Gene Stealer cults finished up the other day. So little by little, I'm hacking away at my giant mountain of unfinished armies.
We call it the plastic pyramid of shame here on the show.
Exactly.
Thought it was Mount Spruemore.
I love that.
Mount Spruemore. So obviously, poop and dick jokes still on the table, and Talladega Night references at any point are fair game. But Excellent. We have a lot to cover today, so let's jump right into it. Rob, give us some news real quick.
I have more than one news. I have 2 to 5 news to match up with the worldwide population of Titanicus players. We're honoring them today.
Memorial service.
I'd like to go on the record and say that I actually played 2 games of Titanicus on Saturday, and they were fabulous.
With the same guy both times, right?
No. 2 different people.
Wow. 2 different people.
Wow. That play Titanicus. Can't
get the camera.
As many as 3. Oh my goodness. So we talked a lot. I feel like every episode for the past history of ever, I can't remember a time not talking about contrast, but unfortunately we do need to cover a few more things real quick because there was kind of a glut of inaccurate information. And I think I prefaced last week's Tabletop Market Watch by saying, hey, this is all based off of the fact that these bottles are all 18 milliliters. And it turns out they're not all 18 milliliters. So I definitely want to.
They're bigger. They're obviously bigger. They're bigger than 18 milliliters. 18
well,
milliliters.
Contrast is 18. Contrast is 18. That was true. The size was pretty accurate. But all of the new air paints are coming in 24 milliliter pots.
What?
They're big. So get your widgets.
Spill pots. Got it.
What's that?
Easier to spill pots.
Obviously. So get your bottle spinners, your fidget bottle spinners, 3D things to mount. And get your blue tack and tack them down to the desk. But maybe more importantly, and I just want to throw this out there because we're very quick to say, hey, GW did this with prices. But if you measure the amount of paint by volume, that it actually went down over $1 a pot.
Wow. Holy shit. You blew my mind, Robbie B.
So real recognize real. They actually, you have to buy 2 pots worth.
The savings. You got to spend money to save money. This is Rob's
spend money to save money. That's
Rob,
right.
I mean, literally not true, but Rob believes it in his heart.
That's like, I've lived my life by that book. Don't tell me it's not true. All right, moving on. The new Citadel sprays that are for use with contrast are $19.80. Not just a good year, also the price of spray. And at least 4 of the sprays are going away. Incubi Darkness, Rhinox Hide, the Fang, and Caliban Green. The texture paints are moving over to the technical paints. They're not changing. Their pots are still the same size. So that's good. There is over 15 new base paints, some of them designed to work with contrast, the standard 12 mLs, $4.55 each. No change there, really. GW did confirm that the Forge World airbrush line is coming back. They will also be in the 24 milliliter pots, which is an even bigger savings if you do the math. I think these pots were like $11 each from Forge World. So there's some serious savings here, and I'm sure they're going to be the same exact formula and everything like that. So if you're like, oh man, I can't get this because it's been gone for like a year, well, now you can stock up. Those are $7.80 a pot as well. And that is pretty much it. Now, GW does look to have, what do we call it, allocated 6 of each to stores. So if you're super hypey about getting this paint.
Did you say hypey?
What's that?
Hypey?
Yeah, hypey. So that's how this kids say it, right?
Hyphy. Come on, man. You don't act like you're not old enough to remember hyphy.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't either. I'm well old enough, and I don't know what that means.
I just troll Kenny, and I'm just gonna relish this.
You know, sometimes I go through life thinking that like everybody else picked up on a saying or a colloquialism that might have just been in one song that I listened to over and over again. I just thought everyone knew it. Yeah. Hyphy could be one of those.
Yeah, not everybody's a juggler like you, Kenny.
Not everyone has 17 pairs of Jinkos.
Yeah, it's true.
I realized the other day when I said that in one of our chats, and Kenny corrected me that I could get him with this. So yeah,
trolling me live. God, I hate you.
I mean, we're all good at something. So that is next week's. Well, it goes on pre-order this week. It'll be in stores at least by next Saturday. On the flip side of things, everybody's been kind of clamoring for new releases and rumors outside of the contrast. So I kind of put together my list of bold new release predictions straight out of the gluten-free gut check section of the show. So coming right up, what I believe, I have actually no proof. This is just purely speculation. I think Apocalypse will be following the release of contrast paints next week. I think that is June 22nd, the full release of Apocalypse. Following that, I suspect we'll see the General's Handbook and possibly the Sylvaneth release as well on the same weekend.
But the Sylvaneth book already released, Rob.
I know. I have it. It's great. But yes, what Jacket Clubs or what Wyatt is referring to is that it actually came out on iTunes or iBook. What are they? I guess it's iTunes. They're getting rid of iTunes, whatever it's called.
iTunes is about to go away.
Yeah, so it came out on iTunes. Some folks downloaded it, and it's making the rounds. If you know,
it was a mistake.
Yeah, I think that was the weekend it was supposed to actually come out. And I don't know if I said this publicly on this a venue or format right here, but Apple's really hard to deal with. So this might not necessarily be like, oh, GW is always doing blah, 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 blah. Like this could just be an interface with Apple. Maybe they couldn't take it down. Maybe there's no takesy backsies. Like we don't know. We don't have an Apple API. We don't know this stuff, you know?
You saying Apple API is similar to Bethesda Studio creation engine?
Well, no, because the Apple API works.
Oof.
Wow.
I find that to be
Shots fired.
Funny because it was true for a long time, and I still love you, Fallout 76. I played you the other day, but damn, that's funny because it's true, Wyatt.
Mm.
Well,
I mean, I'm all about that raid life. I love me some Fallout, but like, if you told me that there was a Bethesda game with no bugs, that's a lie. Like that's never happened.
It's like a Long War or Spiky Bit stream with no technical issues ever.
It's like, are there any games with no bugs? No,
I don't think so.
No, not ever.
Mm-mm.
All right, well, he's gonna come in and hit us with the expertise, and I'm like,
Yep.
I was like,
let me drop some wisdom. There are no games with no bugs.
Oof. I imagine every game development studio. I pretty much have this vision in my head, and it's everything I've seen in Grandma's Boy. Like I think I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
That's what Blizzard looks like. I'm pretty sure that's all.
Drive, monkey, drive.
I will say that when I went on tour of Blizzard with Gilly, every dude was just waiting seconds to quote Grandma's Boy at some point.
On your face.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one. I heard adios turd nuggets like 80 times.
The culture.
I have a bush too, but it's not gray. Here it is.
Wow.
Another great Grandma's Boy quote. I think the last prediction, probably July 4th weekend, because July 4th is actually on a Thursday, fun fact, this year around. So I'm pretty sure GW's not going to throw out their Warhammer 40K or their Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So I suspect it might be a specialist games release. And the best game you're probably not playing right now, we'll probably see some releases that week, the Porphyrion, the new character terminals, maybe the Knight upgrade sprue, which would be super terrific. Because little tiny hands for boxing and dancing and punching things. It's going to be great. I'm not excited at all. And I also imagine that we'll see some Lord of the Rings. Supposedly there's a Scouring of the Shire supplement somewhere out there in the ether that we haven't heard about, but apparently a real thing.
That wasn't in the movies.
Nope, not once.
It didn't happen.
It was in the extended edition. There's about 20 seconds of that. 20 radical seconds of the Scour.
Yep.
Wasn't that when he looked into the
Galadriel's mirror
and saw the future?
Was that before or after Pippin saying "In the Heat of the Night"?
He wasn't here for
before.
it. When you have to go back and listen to the webcast, or just go and watch Tom Segura's podcast. We've been quoting him for like an hour.
Yes.
Maybe. Well, I mean, we can bring that up in the interview. That might be fun to know.
Oh yeah, we'll ask him. We'll just straight ask him. That's a great idea.
Yeah. There you go.
Is that all your predictions, Rob?
I think there was something out. There's Blood Bowl. What else will be that? Probably that week too. That's mine.
Blood Bowl.
Those are my bold predictions. That was your gluten-free gut check. And who wants to talk about some 40K? There was a lot of tournaments this weekend.
First thing, we're going to pivot to asking our guests about Contrast while it's still fresh.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Let's do that
That's
first.
on my list.
I may have fucked up the list.
Also on my list, it says my cat is a jerk.
Oh, perfect. He drew a cat on his paperwork. If you guys are listening to this,
it comes like that. See, it's a pad.
Oh my
It's
god,
feline stationary.
Yeah, duh.
It knocks itself off the counter.
So, guys, 5 weeks running, we've been talking about Contrast. For the first 3 weeks, we just shit all over it for the most part.
I have never shit on it, not once.
Okay, we is the royal we. Half of us shit all over it. Way not to stand by me. But we are committed to creating content. Haspil is going to create a video. That's still happening. I'm going to create a video. Rob's going to create a video. Wyatt's probably going to create a video. So there's going to be lots of video coverage as objectively as possible. And last week we brought on Jim Vessel, and he brought in another perspective, and it was vastly more positive than me and Wyatt's tone. And now we have another gamer, another painter, another special guest. Chris, Contrast, how do you feel about it?
Contrast. I think it's going to be killer. I don't know if it's totally for me yet, but I've got a huge army of Skaven I haven't painted yet, and I've actually been sitting there for about a month, and then I heard about Contrast. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait, and I'm going to try that out and make that my kind of primary painting method. I think it's killer. I mean, again, you guys are not exactly the average bear when it comes to painting miniatures, right? You guys are all top of the rocket. I'm very comfortably in the middle of the hobby, right? I do this shit all the time, but kind of still very, kind of layman level of skills. But it's just how I relax. It's how I roll, but I'm nowhere near kind of professional grade. So whenever there's kind of like interesting new hooks like this, like when the shades came out or, the texture paints, I don't know, that always kind of delights me. There's more stuff to try, more ways of engaging with the hobby and kind of learning to use this or that. I even remember when Forge World used to bust out, what were they called? The powders. Remember those? Like,
the weathering powders.
Yeah. With the weathering powders. Right. Like, oh, hey, let's try this. This is awesome. And, I love all that stuff. I love just trying it out and getting into it. And I guess I would conclude, I'm one of I read a lot on the internet, and I know that, GW took a lot of heat from the community, and I get it, but I'm very, I don't know, being a company man myself for many years. I always think like developer first. And so I assume like, hey, they're rolling this thing out. They must really believe in it. Obviously, they're hoping that it's marketable and opens up a huge new, kind of section of the audience to people that are intimidated by painting that much, So I don't know. I'm behind them. I think they have a good instinct for what this thing will do, and I think it will allow for people that would normally just be terrified to start a big long project like that to see quick results. And it's hopefully a gateway. Maybe they'll start dry shading down the road, and I could try some of these other more classic modes of painting once they build up their confidence, so I'm kind of hoping it does that and just opens that part of the hobby up to people that normally just wouldn't even bother.
I like that confidence. I like how you like rather than build up like their skill set, they're building up confidence just to try it. That's a great perspective.
Your skill will never increase unless you're like having fun at trying it and continuing it and building the confidence enough to see yourself improve. It's not a cycle, but a wheel that keeps moving forward. And I like that. A lot of times people just get kind of intimidated right out of the running. They don't even start. So I think it's killer.
That makes sense. I do promise you, it won't fail. Like, it's like they do believe in it. They're smart at marketing. They've really upgraded their game over the last few years, and it's gonna succeed regardless of me and Wyatt's opinions or not.
Now, I will. Why I think I agree with everything Chris said. And I also think it's a great opportunity for folks, and I definitely want to check it out myself. And I don't think anybody should dismiss it. At least grab a pot or two yourself and play it. But what I just want to go on record saying what I don't like about the whole contrast thing is that Games Workshop is in many ways using it as a carrot in front of a lot of stores out there to get them to buy $4,000 in paint, almost to the point that they're strong arming them. And if they say no to their rep, they have another like closer dude that gives them a call. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Business wise, it's smart. I get it. But it's also keeping money locked down from putting in other products out there, like perhaps the 2 army painter racks that have come out in the past 2 years, or picking up Vallejo or something like that. So it not only does it lock these stores into continuing to carry Citadel, but it also kind of freezes out the competition from the floor space, so to speak. I don't agree with the tactics. I don't agree with them getting everybody so hype and then having such a lack of information up till a week before pre-order. But I think the product has great potential, and I think a lot of folks are going to be using it on day one.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Like it's a genius rollout, right? 2 super awesome sketches, that Matrix and the Conan sketch. Those were fucking hilarious. We all watched them, and we all got a chuckle out of them. And then a big PR video with all these legendary painters of the game going to Nottingham, right? So that's the information. They're controlling the distribution of information. They're getting a frenzy going, right? And by the time it's time to release, you have no choice. You have to buy in on that product going into June, which is the first of the hardest months of the year for retail in this hobby industry. So yeah, that sucks, but it'll probably be a good product. So hopefully it all works out. But
indeed.
Top 5. You got some kind of tournament coverage, right?
What's that?
You got some kind of tournament coverage, right?
Yeah. So there was a bunch of tournaments over the weekend. There was 5 Warhammer 40K tournaments that had over 30 people, believe it or not. So it was a good weekend for I guess competitive play, so to speak. So we can run them down. just kind of go over them real quick and get you guys' thoughts on them.
Mm-hmm.
They're, it seems like we talked about in the webcast, it seems like there's a lot more mono builds out there. Not necessarily mono builds here, but a lot of, like, you know, for instance, the first one, let's just jump into it and you can see what I'm talking about. So the first one was 40K at Lincoln. The winner was a Chaos Suit, Jimmy Peterson, I think you say his name.
Yep.
He had, in his list, he had a demon battalion with a lot of different flavors of demons in it, which is really interesting to see. So Changecaster, Poxbringer, Slisky, which is a boost, 15 Bloodletters, the 27 Pink Horrors, Super Dakas and stuff, and 30 Plague Bearers. Second battalion was straight T-Sons, Aramon, Demon Princes each, 2 blocks of 10 each cultists, and 30 Zangors. How about that? And last but certainly not least was a patrol of 1 Demon Prince with the Talons, Marcus Slanesh, 10 Chaos Cultists. Marcus Slanesh, this was probably cut off, so it was probably 2 blocks of Chaos Cultists, if I had to guess. But kind of an interesting like amalgam of chaos demons of a certain type, and then just all the chaos in 1 battalion.
Yeah, he also has over 200 points of summoning points allocated in this list.
Yes, that is important to mention.
Yeah, I was about to mention, is like, that looks light. I bet he's summoning. Yes. So he can, so 200, is it 220 points?
He's listed 1745. And
yeah, 1745. Right. So he's got, I assume this was a 2K event.
Yeah, so he's got enough. He's got enough to drop like full blocks of supporting demons, like full block Pink Horrors, if that's what he needs to do, full block Plague Bearers, if that's what he needs to do. So, and you can see he has the supporting characters to support that. So, because you're not dropping Bloodletters with that, because like all of the things that make them good is like things you purchase pre-game and stuff. Like the banner blood and everything. So I've always said the future of chaos is, 220 to 400 points demonic ritual. So you can make those options. Like you're playing orcs, you're going to drop in another block of horrors for the bullets. And he's got the Changecaster there, which makes them all strength 4. You said it's Zine's Demon Prince, right? So they all get the reroll 1s. And he probably takes the Warlord trait, maybe on his Chaincaster, which is there's a reroll 1s to wound Warlord trait. So like there's literally
just Daka.
If he sees orcs, that's the way, now suddenly he's like, fuck your orcs, right? But if he sees more bullets coming across the table, it might simply just be now he has 60 Plague Bears on the table. So, and now that you can demonic ritual on turn 1, it is the future. So I can get behind this list. It's fun.
It's almost like doing the assassin thing where you can just like request the operative, but you're like requesting demon blob or, something like that. Just kind of a roundabout way of doing it. It's pretty neat to see. Just subbing it in.
Anybody else have any insight to that list beyond what I just said? Because I can't see anything else. It looks weird to me.
No, seems like a fine chaos list.
So what else?
We got Planes of War, Imperial Guard, Brendan Krusty. Hope we said that right. So there's a lot going on in this one. It's a Vigilus Defiant Emperor's Wrath Artillery company. So normal guard screen, 3 of them, troopers, 2 company commanders. And what did he have in this?
Got a couple of squads of veterans.
Yeah, a couple of squads of veterans.
And a Manticore, which you don't see a lot. 3.
Yeah, once you get down to the actual the artillery part, the Manticore, 3 Wyverns.
It's also got a Emperor's Fist tank company. Pask, 2 more tank commanders, bunch of troops. Engine seer, mortars, general stuff. Another
three Wyverns, a single Manticore?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he can double shoot with the Manticore with that detachment, or what are the Wyverns? Yeah, that's real good. I like that. That's sick.
Refresh my memory. What was the ruling on that? It said 1 weapon, but we figured out the Storm Shard is actually one weapon.
Yeah. It used to be 2 separate weapons. Right. 2 Storm Shard arrays.
It was. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely get behind that because that's effective.
Guard is real strong right now. Brandon Gratt played mono guard at Bay Area Open.
He also has some casters, the Astropath and 3 Primaris Psychers and another detachment along with, the infantry squads to screen them. I guess.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah. Guard real good. That list is good. I know people. I know some of people. Don't you have a guard army, Chris?
I do. I
met you playing a guard army back in the day.
I think I took him to the LVO then when we first met.
Yep.
My IG Joes.
Yep. Cool. Standard battalion list. Going to LVO for the first time and seeing all the shenanigans.
Being utterly outclassed. That was a good education.
But it's come back around, man. IG, they don't play games. They don't play games now.
You going to be at LVO this year?
We'll try. But, you guys are going to laugh me out of the room, but I'm a big narrative guy. I love narrative campaigns. So we've been thinking about doing that.
I actually had a realization. I think this is a good idea to talk about real quick. I don't care if you play narrative. I don't care if you play casually. I don't care if you play competitive. Whatever makes you happy and playing with your toy soldiers, more power to you. I'm fully supportive of that. The second that you are any one of those categories and you start shit talking somebody else for the way they play with their toy soldiers, you're the asshole.
Yeah.
So if you're a casual player and you shit talk me for being a tournament player, I'm not the asshole. You are. I think it's
totally
awesome
agree.
To play narrative. I think it's awesome when you want to get some beer and pretzels games, right? But just let people play with their toy soldiers. There's no wrong way to play with toy soldiers.
Absolutely.
I think outside of the Long War doubles in the friendly that was actually next to us at Adepticon, the other events I saw on the Warhammer side of things having the most fun was actually the Heresy guys in the narrative tracks upstairs. Yeah. Those guys. Do you play Heresy at all, Chris?
I do, but I haven't played like at an event. Gilly and I, used to mainline 30K for the first couple of years it popped,
right.
And especially because it was kind of towards the mid of 7th, where all the not detachments, but all the funky like army building, and it just all started to feel just out of control. And so 30K felt like it was just such a clean engagement again, and relatively balanced with just kind of marine on marine action. So we love 30K, but I haven't played it like an official.
Don't go my search history. Marine on marine is top of the queue.
Yeah, no, I mean, there isn't a whole lot of competitive Heresy events. Most of it's just narrative anyways, but yeah, it's super fun, and you get to take the dopest stuff. And that new night they previewed on Monday uses the 7-inch blast. I was like, time to dig out the old Apocalypse plates. Crazy. I believe the great Beavis said it best. Dropping plates on your ass.
Mm-hmm. I kind of miss the big markers, the flamer templates and all that stuff, like I know it's a better, quicker system, but sometimes I do miss the glorious templates.
Laying down the length and girth of an epic flamer placement.
Oh yeah.
18 inches.
Danger close orbital bombardment. Miss that.
I remember playing in doubles tournaments or Adepticon, my first year at Adepticon. I like never, it's like, that's like 12 years ago. Right. And I will never forget like the excitement of like, me and my boy Ron Santoni, he's got like his Legion of Lost of the Damned, and he's got the Basilisk firing off. I'm on the other side of the table with my Plague Marines in this combat, and I'm like, shoot it right here. He's like, all the way across the table. He's like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I was like,
epic.
It'll be fine. Shoots it like right next to the combat and hits everything he needs to hit. Hits direct hit, no scatter, blows everything up. All my dudes are fine.
Yeah.
He's like, damn. The gangsters.
So epic. See, that's the shit I love about 40K or tabletop in general. It's just like these crazy memories you have 12 years later, right? Like our good one, if I could take a second, my favorite Warhammer memory is a couple years ago, and we did a giant apocalypse game at my house. By the way, I can't even handle how excited I am for the new Apocalypse. But we played a huge Apocalypse game, and it's a lot of the Blizzard guys, like all the, I don't know, a bunch of guys. I don't know if they want to be named. And it was the funnest, I hadn't played since, it had been many, many years. So one of my friends, he's right across the table from me. He's got a Land Raider full of all of the Chaos heroes, right? You got Ahriman and Karn and, just Typhus. all these nasty, super friends of evil in this fucking souped up Land Raider, charging across. And it's the first move of the game. I've got a shadow sword. I've never fired it in anger. Like, hey, what could happen, right? Back in the age of D weapons. Well, yeah, I'll take the Land Raider. Pop. And just the first move of the game, I disintegrate this Land Raider. 5 of the 6, mega level characters are disintegrated in the first shot. Only Karn, with like one, wound left, climbs out of the, flaming wreckage, and winds up through the game, killing Logan Grimnar. It's just completely epic. But my opponent was like, it's like the first move of the game, and more than half his points are just evaporated. And the rest of the table looks down, they look over and go, apocalypse. And it was just this ridiculous moment where everyone just starts laughing out loud. It's like, you got to embrace the ludicrousness of what's about to happen, right?
I like to call it,
get emotional about it. You got to roll with it.
The ludocracy of it all.
Yeah. It was just so out of control. But like, that's the shit I remember of just like laughing, because that's the point. It's not just rolling the dice. It's having these fucking weird moments and laughing with your friends and go, dude, you remember that one time when you came in and you dropped this thing, I don't know. That's just my favorite thing about the gaming hobby is those moments you remember that are just absurd, but take you back to a place and a time and how it felt to be just hanging with your friends, Yep,
the magic time.
That's what it's about to me,
When it was electricity, anytime you went to a room and you played 40K and there was electricity in the air. That was like in our mission statement when we started this podcast and started this was, bringing hobby. What does bringing hobby back mean? It's bringing hobby scores back to over 40K because that's the thing that the old stuff had that the new stuff doesn't have. And that led to the electricity, in my opinion, like that magic that you remember all these games in total like stereoscopic vision, you're like, oh, I can see that. I can feel it. I can smell it. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Me and Haspil have like 20 of those.
That was maybe a long anecdote. I apologize, but
oh no,
it's good.
It's great. It's great stuff.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm definitely stoked for it to come back. I like the whole damage resolved at the end of the turn, because every time I Titan,
it's a pincushion. Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna shoot that. Like, there's like all these other things. Nah, I'm gonna shoot that.
Like, I ordered a Revenant or a Phantom Titan, small one.
There you go.
Small ones. Phantom, right?
The Revenant's a small one.
I ordered one just because Apocalypse is coming back, and I've never painted one. I have Eldar now, and I really want to. Plus, there's always the option that if I really wanted to, I could show up to a GT and put that on the table and be like, "This is my 2,000-point army." It's legal. It's exactly 2K.
You made the boss move of in the BCB app. Your army list is just a picture of the data slate.
Yeah. Strong power move.
Rob, quickly. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Chris. What was up?
Oh no, I was just saying I got one of those years ago, like the Armor Cast Phantom Titan.
Oh yeah.
It's of course all my stuff's in the living room, so I brought that one home, and the wife was just like,
I'm mad jealous.
"Dude, is there no end to the madness?" I don't think it'll ever see a tabletop, but one day.
But you need it.
One day, I just had to have it, right?
Come on, obviously.
There's some old Armor Cast stuff I wish I could get my hands on, just from like a collector standpoint, because some of the older, wackier shit has like a soft spot in my heart for some like the Rogue.
It's charming. It's a charming era in sculpting that looks like objectively terrible compared to what we have now, but
it was the shit at the time.
And it's charming. It's like, fuck, man, you're right. But Rob, give us the other 3 lists real quick, as fast as you can, and then we'll move on.
So this is a charming list here. We've got Eldari, a battalion of Altway, featuring Eldrad, a Warlock, Skyrunner, Spirit Seer, block of Guardians, 20 Guardians, and 2 squads of 5 Rangers, and the spearhead of another Skyrunner, a Spirit Seer, Shining Scorpions, some Daka with Warwalkers with scatter lasers, and 3 Vibro Cannon batteries of 3 each. And then an Airwing detachment of 3 Razor Wings of Obsession of the Cabal of the Black Heart. How about that?
Classic Eldar, that they're so efficient in so many ways that they can I can sneak a couple of units in that you don't normally see, but the rest of it's so fucking solid.
Yeah.
The 20-man block of Guardian Defenders is becoming really popular. We saw a couple of lists of BAO that had like the one 20-man block.
It's been popular all year in the West Coast.
sleeper pick on the War Walkers. I'm not entirely sure why they went with those. But yeah, you don't see those a lot. I've seen other people talk about bringing the
Scorpions,
the sport weapons.
Oh, the Vibros,
Vibros.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
I mean, it's got a few off meta choices that I'm sure you brought because they work, but the other things are so good. Like that's like Eldar for the last 20 years.
And you can unlock Vect, right? Because even with the Air Wing, that still unlocks the
clarification is that if there are any units marked as Cabal the Black Heart, so you could have a mixed attachment of Dark Eldar and you still have access to Vect.
Well, except for if you take the auxiliary long war or auxiliary heavy Lord of War, you don't get that, right? I think that's the only one that says you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Trying to refresh.
Solid list.
Next up is Bad Moons. Or excuse me, it's
Orcs.
Moon GT. It is Orcs. It's not necessarily
Evil
Bad
Sons.
Moons. Evil Sons. Yep. I think
Evil Sons with Bad Moons.
Nope.
No. The Bad Moons was the name of the GT apparently.
Yeah. It's Evil Sons. You got your War Boss on Warbike, Big Mech on Warbike, custom force.
2 index units. Got it.
Yep. Zadstar. He's an OG.
Yep.
Oh, he went a classic. He even went with the.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm
Got
with
the
it.
90 boys. Solid. Pain Boy on Warbike. Knob with War Banner on foot. 60 Storm Boys. And then he has a secondary battalion, 2 Weird Boys, and a boatload of Gretchen.
Oh, I'm with it. Oh, that's sick. Yeah, that list is a hard list to fight against, man.
It can do a lot of different things. I'm actually
the secondary battalion is a mixed battalion. So 1 Weird Boy is Evil Sons, and 1 Weird Boy is a Blood Axe.
Oh yeah, Blood Axe. Yep, looks like it. Huh. No Vigilus here. This is just straight.
It's hard to fight against that many Storm Boys that can move that fast and with support characters.
And all the boys rolling up.
Yeah.
I like this work list. This is a man akin to my own heart.
I guess you could jump them too if you have a Weird Boy, but you might not necessarily have to.
No.
But I mean, yeah, late game moves. It's such a good tactic. I mean, you got the Orc Green Tide rule. You've got all the rocket packs coming across the table with their War Boss bubbles. You can jump whenever you need to, reposition, mob up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got so much play, like so many layers.
Like having a bunch of multiple missiles.
Which is interesting because that same list pre-Orc Codex was still a tricky ass list to play against, just for the sake of its bodies and what it can do in close combat. The second you give it a couple of icy strats, like come back to life off the board edge once per game, mob up, fucking fight again with a guy. Guy dies, fights. Like this guy can teleport over here, then mob up. Like you got all these little fucking things that start coming together and making the same exact set of Gretchen. You got the Gretchen shield wall still. Like those Gretchen keep you from picking off Storm Boys. I'd struggle against that list every day of the week.
Yeah.
It's crazy how some of the most simplistic stuff is actually tough as nails now in 8th edition.
Mm-hmm.
Really love it. Now this one, I actually was talking to Austin about this list here. So Beats Lab GT, he ran Chaos. This breakdown. We'll just run it down. Looks like okay, yeah. There's several attachments here. So the first one had Aramon, Master of Executions, a Sorcerer, Lord of War, Mortarion, and then a battalion with the Poxbringer, the Contorted Epitome. Horrors, 10 horrors.
Was that a Supreme Command attachment you just listed?
Yeah.
So a fully mixed Supreme Command. So was it an Emperor's Children, a Thousand Suns, and Death Guard?
World Eaters, Master of Execution, Crimson Slaughter, Sorcerer.
All linked by their Hereticus Astartes keyword. No.
Yep. That's true.
Hereticus Astartes, because you can't use gas.
I don't think it's... Yep. Yeah, so Mortarion's in there too.
Yeah, because
you can have a Lord of War on a Supreme Command.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's super strong. Okay.
And then Chaos Undivided. This is interesting. So you got Poxbringer, you got Contorted Epitome, which is Slanesh. Horrors, 10 horrors, 27 plague bearers. So I guess this blocks 28 plague bearers. And then another Supreme Command.
Triple Disco Lord.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling down. Yep, and it's the 3 Disco Lords. Flawless Host.
Yeah, Flawless Host, real popular right now. There's lots of configurations that make them awesome. They're real good. We talked about them in our tactics class today at length about different configurations and tactics and how to use them. And if you're playing Chaos Space Marines right now, that is a great unit. 2 at least, 1 minimum. You should. They're useful, but 3 at 160 points each, practically becoming an American Express card of Chaos.
Oh yes.
Well, it's funny because we talked about it initially. We're like, there's no way this thing's. Wait, what?
Well, we thought it was going to be.
Off the board.
We said if it's going to be over 10 wounds, then it has to be really awesome rules and decent points. But if it's under 10 wounds, all day, every day. And they blew us away with 160 points over 10 wounds. 2 up save, 10 to 7, 12 wounds. Brings a wound back every turn, and it's only $160. Yeah.
Why buy 1 when you can buy 3?
I just commissioned 3. I got 3 being paid for me right now, and I'm painting my own.
That seems a bit redundant. I'll give you $1 for that one you're painting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll talk.
Deal. You heard it. Slide.
Got some interesting lists coming out. Some really interesting lists, standard lists, but for the most part, all these lists had some things that aren't standard. That's a really interesting weekend 40K, and it's just indicative, I think, of everything that's going on with Frontline Gaming, the ITC Pro Tour, how they're tracking things, and I think we're going to keep seeing kind of players authorizing each other to play new weird lists as we move forward in this season. It's one of the most incredible things that's happened in competitive wargaming is the unofficial governing body of how we competitively play, who has nothing to do with the actual rules of the game, has created a rule for their tournament that we all take as literally this is how you play the game now. And when they revealed that to us, best of faction is mono only, people are embracing it, man. That's fucking awesome, man. I'm so blown away week by week as I see people shifting the lists around, new units, people experimenting with almost mono, then other people going mono,
Yeah. And it's a really cool thing because I think a lot of people have finally figured out that competing for best in faction is a lot easier than competing for top 1, 2, or 3. So if you're, average tournament player, you look at the roster and you see I'm a BAO and Jeff Robinson and Jim Vessel and John Lennon and Brandon Grant and Don Houston, all these fools are here. Guess what? You're not making top 8, right? So they're well, I can go to this GT and bring whatever and do kind of middle of the pack. Or alternatively, I could show up with mono build Grey Knights, go 3-3 and win a prize at the end. I get to stand up on the stage and win an award at a national level GT without having to worry about winning a bunch of games. And that feels really cool to be able to go and win something which otherwise you would not be able to. So I think the competing for best in faction is a really, really fun thing that a lot of people.
And previous to this role, people would game it by just having the minimum investment of Grey Knights in a really strong Imperial list. I think to echo George in the comments, he said something along the lines of he's not seeing mono factions really take hold yet in his area. I think you're going to really start seeing it ramp up as we get toward LVO, which marks the end of the season. You're going to see a lot of players who realize they're out of contention, and they're going to get their last 4 scores with their mono factions. And then they're going to end amazing at LVO, 5-1 or whatever, and 6-1 or whatever, and just clinch it at the end. I think that's when we're going to really see it ramp up. And Brandon Grant, Don Husen, they're both playing mono faction right now. It's already beginning with some of the top players in the country. So ready for our awesome, not entirely list breakdown, normal 40K nerdy topic?
I am.
You are? All right.
I definitely am.
I'm going to turn it over to Haspil as our professional interviewer.
All right. So, I've got a couple questions for Chris. I'll save the big juicy one for last, and then we can roll into our topic. A couple people asked, what is your favorite 40K army?
Interesting. How does one pick? I love them all. I play pretty much everything but Chaos. Oof. Sorry, Kenny.
God damn it! You and Haspil are the same person.
That's right.
And Dark Eldar. They're a little too kinky for me. In a totally direct Slaneshi kind of way. My favorites. It's hard to say. I'm really fired up right now. They're a little hard to play right now because I think the points cost is all whacked out. But I love my Deathwing. I love my Deathwing. I love playing with Terminators. I love playing with a lot of Dreadnoughts. So I've been having a blast with them lately. But I'm sure you don't get that answer a lot. So I don't know. I love me some Dark Angels. I do love my Tau. I love my Imperial Guard. It's hard to pick. I'm very fond of most of them.
Going with the gut, I'm saying Deathwing. You said it first, and you said Dreadnoughts and Terminators. I think many people in the world of 40K saw a Dreadnought and started playing 40K. That's a common story we get. It's like Dreadnought, Dreadnought.
Totally. And it's such it's like such a embarrassment of riches these days with the Deradeo and the Leviathan and Contemptors up the yin yang. There's just so many like relatively competitive units out there for Dreadnoughts. It's a fun time to play.
And George had a really good comment in the chat. He goes, "Oh, you like Dark Angels? I thought you didn't play Chaos."
Shots fired.
Yeah, definitely.
Too funny.
We had another question about how you think about like balance on the tabletop between different factions and everything, especially like given your time at Blizzard, balancing games and stuff.
I don't even know how to begin to wade into that. I think we all feel that you can't really expect perfect balance. I think it's super hard with how many factions are in the game? Is it 20 armies?
Oh yeah, it's 20 at least
plus Inari plus it's and now with all the soupy lists, you're mixing and matching. I think at some level balance is essentially impossible. You can approximate it, but I think it's really, really hard. The stratagem system now is a pretty good way of kind of pulling things back and being able to cover a bet and make, at least allow you to be effective, even if your force is just totally, shouldn't even be on the table against, Custodes or, whatever someone's bringing, Eldar these days. Well, let's be real, Eldar forever. But, with stratagems, at least you've got a fighting chance to kind of, keep your force effective. I don't know. It's hard to talk about balance.
I like that you brought up stratagems, Chris, because I've been saying that stratagems are the perfect system to balance the game because it's essentially a paywall that grants you access to your universal special rules.
Yeah, effectively, So it's
if you started there,
their inclusion was very, very smart with this edition, and it takes a lot of the onus off of trying to make all the math work, in terms of actual unit to unit balance. It's one of the hardest things to try and do. I remember going through, with this was not my area of expertise, but with StarCraft, with, War 3, just the sheer improbability of balancing 3 armies, let alone 4. It was so difficult. And I'll say specifically, it was difficult to watch, since, I can barely add or subtract. But the sheer absurdity of trying to balance the many factions they have, it's like, I don't even worry about that shit. It's always going to be an uphill climb.
Yeah. And this is the last question that I have. And it is a big one. And a bunch of people have been asking about this, and I'm sure you're aware, there's that big rumor on the internet that there are, parallels and maybe a history between Warhammer 40K and StarCraft in particular. And I was, would you like to lay that to rest?
That sounds dangerous, Mike. That sounds like dangerous terrain. Take a dangerous terrain check.
Don't roll once.
I guess I would say I've seen some of those rumors too. There's been rumors forever, for those of us that survived the 90s.
I was there.
I would say all the rumors I've seen online, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go out on a limb and I will say they are all wrong. To my knowledge, there was never a deal. There was never we were gonna team up with GW. That was never going to happen. And I can tell you, I was there. I've been there since '94. If it was going to happen, I would have heard about it and I would have done cartwheels. Given how I spent my misspent youth, it's just not true. So yeah, sure. You have people make comparisons over the years. I don't know what to say to that other than, come on, we all grew up. Here's the funny thing. So these two companies are corporations and they build their IPs and they build their products and all that stuff. And with the other 100 companies out there doing similar stuff. And, the truth is all the people just behind those logos, we all watch the same stuff and we play the same stuff and we talk about the same stuff. We're all the same nerds. You know what I mean? So, how inspiration works, cyclically, it's a crazy thing. I think we all get off on each other's ideas. And I think inspiration is fundamental to being geeks and to gaming, to reading, to watching the films we love, to music. It all goes around in the great big, the great big wheel. But there was never any official anything, between the two companies. Although it was cool over the years, I got to meet, Jess Goodwin and Andy Chambers came and worked with us for a few years at Blizzard. Mark Gibbons. I got to meet a lot of these guys that when I was a kid, I worshiped these guys. And so kind of to hear, what GW was like back in the day and kind of what influenced them. I mean, it's just like going to church, I've got so much love for that company and those guys. And really, if I could take 3 hours and just talk about the Horus Heresy, just from a pure fiction standpoint, which I think is one of the most radical, ongoing storylines in modern fiction. It is one of the funnest fucking things I've ever encountered. So, I mean, I love it all, but there was never any particular official anything. I guess I said that already. So I'm not sure what point I'm trying to make other than, we all love each other.
Oh yeah. All the silly ass rumors on the internet, like Blizzard gets sued by GW.
Oh, come on.
Come on. Like that's not real. That's not real life, guys.
But there's no guff, we're all working stiffs and, there's a lot more in common than not in common, I guess I would
think. I've heard you say that at a BlizzCon once.
About that?
We're all the same tribe.
Like God, yeah, dude, it's all it's about. We're all the same nerds. Drop us all, in the middle of fucking the Congo somewhere. We're gonna, from different places in the world. We're gonna start talking about, did you love Avengers? What's going on with that shit? You think fucking Cap's coming back?
We got a good one.
We'll just pick it right up.
Yeah, that's.
Haspil, good one in chat. The Whispering Monk says Long War. At Long War, we're all hobos, but
we're all hobos.
H.O. Hobby on Battle On.
Hobby on Battle On. Yeah.
That's our new thing we just came up with.
All right, no, Dart Thrower 22 came
Dart Thrower 22, we'll give you credit for that. But we're, after today, it's ours.
Yeah, I feel like.
Haspil, take us into our big our big topic.
Yeah, so obviously you're big into the whole electronic world, digital age games and everything, but here you are, massive hobbyist, and you've been playing for 30 years or more and all that stuff. So how do you feel like the importance of like tactile games,
right?
Tabletop games where you're standing across from your opponent, and you already talked a little bit about it, like the making of the memories. It's like I do have some good memories of digital games when I was playing with my friends, but like you pointed out, it doesn't. I mean, I can go back to like 89 and remember a Space Hulk game that I played, like beat for beat, and BattleTech and stuff like that. So, I would be very interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
How do you answer that? going back to something Wyatt said earlier about, narrative players versus, hardcore, competitive players. Ultimately, however, for something like 40K, however you want to roll and however you want to, play with your, plastic soldiers, whatever, that's your gig. It's how you spend your time. It's how it's how you vibe. And we shouldn't get, there shouldn't be this kind of divide and judgment about how this other sector is doing their thing or how these other people are doing it. I look at that the same as like if you're an online gamer, if you're a Morg player, or you love playing RTS competitively, or you're over here doing Telltale games or playing Lego Marvel, it doesn't fucking matter, like ultimately, and then break it down between digital or interactive, I guess you would say, is the broad category, and then tabletop. I don't know what the right terms are. Again, to me, there's no difference, right? We are all gamers. Like our grandma's game, right? They're playing, I don't know, Bust a Move or Candy Crush or whatever. Everybody games.
Definitely
phone,
Candy Crush.
On your iPad, on your whatever. Everybody games. And to me, the core of gaming, really, unless you're playing solitaire, which is fine, unless you're playing, Tetris, which is fine. I understand they have multiplayer Tetris these days. But for the most part, gaming, like in the way that we're talking about it, is actually about, I think, other people. Games are so often just they're like the vehicle through which you are actually engaging with other humans. Some interactive games, like it's close to my heart, so I'll use it as an example. But like a World of Warcraft or whatever, that thing blew up, not necessarily just because it was super clever. And I want to say all these years later, it was very clever. And boy, was that storytelling great. But the trick that made it blow up was people, is that you made friends. You're having these adventures, but you're enjoying meeting, I met this cleric the other day, this guy named John. I think he lives in Cincinnati. This guy's awesome. I can't wait to play with him next Wednesday. That's what made WoW work. It was creating relationships, drawing people together. You're joining guilds. We're going to go raid on a Tuesday. And it just becomes, like more than just your hobby. It becomes your social scene and how you relate to people. And I love that about gaming. So when you talk about tabletop gaming, people will think, well, it's so analog, man. It's so old school. It's so 80s or whatever. To me, it's like, it takes me right back to the core of why I wanted to work at Blizzard, is because I love gaming with people, to me, it's all about that person across the table. Really, the most core experience I go back to is D&D, right? And my wargaming love kind of came out of role-playing with friends, so now we can actually move armies around as friends and, roll crazy dice together. But to me, it's the same thing. It is about relationship and laughing and creating ludicrous memories and nerding out around big nerdy ideas. Okay, let's go charge Castle Ravenloft. And, oh my God, I get 101 memories immediately come to my mind. There's something so unique about nerdy, geeky people coming together and gaming together. It's just the most wonderful melting pot. And I don't see any difference between tabletop and interactive other than distance. With tabletop, there's the person right next to you and you can laugh and ha ha ha. And there's just an immediacy to relationship and vibing with somebody. Or the opposite, right? The dice aren't rolling very good, I'm horribly guilty of this. I'll start getting pissed and, fuck, blah, 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 blah. And then I just had a game like this last week and my buddy Atesh is like, dude, fucking Jedi mind trick, right? Like, and a friend helping me through that frustration of having a bad gaming night. That's amazing, right? When it sucks and when it doesn't matter because you got your people around you and you're living. Now, by contrast, you have like that WoW thing where you're not necessarily in the same room, but people continents apart can still get some of that action. They can still be on, Vent or, whatever voice app you're using and laugh together and see that Leroy Jenkins shit happen together. Dude, you're doing what? Get back in here. That's not the plan. And you're fucking laughing and trying to fix whatever, some idiot in the group just did. Like, that's the shit. So at least interactive allows you to network together over vast distances. And to me, it's like they're just different flavors, and they're ultimately allowing you the same thing, the same point of engagement, which is enjoying other people through the vehicle of this nerdy stuff. And I apologize, that was way overwinded, and I think I overanswered your question, but
no, that was great.
That's a good tone to set for a discussion. I mean, you took it to a place, because in my mind, when I initially posed it, I've said this a million times. I convinced my girlfriend Bonet. We've been together for 6.5 years, right? She never played video games. Was never grown up allowed to play video games. Video games rot your mind. Go outside. I grew up being allowed to play video games, and I'm like, video games are actually, Bonet, like right now, the most legitimate form of entertainment. Like she's like, that's bullshit. I make movies. That's more legit. Well, okay. She was kind of bored in North Carolina when we were out there for my work, and she was like, well, I'll play a video game. I was like, cool. I've been waiting for this. I had BioShock, Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Those are the first 2 games. Like, because then I was like,
is she like she's addicted to a certain game?
Oh, now she is. So those are the first 2. I was like, I'm going to have you. These are 2 of the most, to me, experiences. Like, I just blew my fucking mind, right?
Immersive, narrative.
Yeah.
Totally atmospheric.
Crazy, right? And so I had her play them. It was slow at first. She was playing on easy, trying to get used to the controls. And then she lost her mind. She played BioShock first. I was like, yeah, you're right. These are good.
So good.
And then she played Fallout 3, which she was like a billion minutes later. Like she woke up. She's like, what the fuck?
Right. A month and a half later.
Yeah. And then she was like, oh my God, what else is out there? I was like, BioShock 2. She's like, did this just come out? I was like, baby, these games came out years ago. And I gave her BioShock 2. She's like, the graphics get even better. I was like, baby, that game came out in 2005. And so
my God.
So she's been on this journey. Now she's like the Dark Soul. She is Honey P, Dark Soul, Bloodborne, Dark Soul 2, Dark Soul 3. She's playing Sekiro right now. She's like crushing that. She's like, you're right. But then she's like, but why are you so into these tabletop bullshit games? Like, if you like, you're like so into these video games, like, because there's this one, for me personally, like I love the social. I don't play games where I can't communicate with people. Vet, hilarious. Yes, we all used it. Me and Wyatt use TeamSpeak still. We have a TeamSpeak server for our raid life.
Or Discord.
Discord, garbage. Don't use it. Not for games. It sucks bad.
It's funny though, dude. It's like I spent so long when I was a kid. It was all about D&D. It was about role playing games. You guys familiar with like Kevin Simbita, like the Palladium system that he developed? It was kind of like a general purpose role playing rules, but he just built all sorts of worlds that kind of use the same system. We just lived for that shit, and kind of growing up and relating through being nerdy. Warhammer was kind of an escalation of that in Necromunda later on. Right around the time I got hired at Blizzard, we were just cracked out on Necromunda. And so it's weird at this point in my life. I've been out of Blizzard for about 3 years now. And the funniest thing, I don't know if this was like a choice as such, but I can't tell you the last time I finished a computer game. I can't tell you the last time I finished an Xbox game. I sit with my 10-year-old. He just finished Red Dead Redemption 2, and I sat with him probably for 70% of that game, just watching him play because it's so cinematic and the story was so engaging. But I don't have that thing as much these days of like wanting to kind of really go deep on a single player. But I spend inordinate amount of time on my iPad balancing army lists for 40K. I just said that out loud. I'm psychotic, right?
Oh, don't worry, we all do that.
My God! I'm on Army List Builder. I've got. It's like I duel between Quartermaster and Battle Scribe. Off and on. Yeah. Who's updated their points? Most recently. So it's funny. It's like I've kind of, from 1,000 feet up, you would say, oh, he's regressed back into the 80s. I don't know. I don't look at it that way, but it's kind of cool to go a little fucking analog, and I don't know exactly what that's all about. I mean, certainly, like I said, I like gaming with my pals and being in a space. So here's an interesting one. Let me just jump into a weird one. So I found myself with a lot of time on my hands, post career or whatever. So my buddy Mike, who works at Blizzard, Mike Gilmartin, we call him Gilly. Mike and I have been playing 40K. For about 8 years now. We played for the most part in my living room, once a week, this is, it's game night, baby. And then we moved to his. I had a kid a couple years ago, and we couldn't roll dice quite as loud in my living room, so we moved to his garage. And a couple of the boys from his department started, coming and gaming, and we kind of developed a little group. And eventually, we got to the point where we're like, dude, we're too big, and there's too many of us to be stuck in your garage. What if we did something crazy? So we wound up starting up a club in Irvine. With just kind of, close friends and, former coworkers. And it turns out all sorts of people play 40K, or whatever else. We're playing Star Wars Legion. We're playing X-Wing. We're playing, all sorts of, Sigmar, whatever. So it's kind of cool at this phase of my life, kind of throwing in with Mike and creating this this gaming club. We call it War Chief Gaming. Haha. Mm-hmm. And just being able to spend time there. We rented out this, fair sized warehouse, and, there's like 20 tables in there, full terrain, and on any given night, a lot of nights during the week, it would just roll, and there's people in there just sitting around modeling or painting or talking shop, or 2 or 3 games going, on a busy night, 2 or 3, even 4 games going. Kill Team's been big lately. And it's just so bitching to be able to kind of get out of the house and go somewhere where your pals are, and everybody's rolling hot dice, and I don't know. It's just been it gives me a little bit of that feeling I had like at Blizzard with the crew, and kind of in that way we were building games. But it's just really been nice to have a place to go and just be able to hang and game and nerd out, and have that feeling of community again has been really big for me.
I saw a bunch of War Chief shirts at Bay Area Open. You had some of your club repping, dog.
Baby.
So it was in the battle. It's in BCP now. Like, it's a whole thing. I'm going down for the first time.
We got Zach Thacker out there.
Zach holding it down,
looking it out pretty hard. And Kenny, we got some pretty badass players in there.
Old Big Red. No, he actually called up me and my boys on invite to come down to your guys' invite GT. Yeah. So I'll be down there on the 15th. That's awesome. Why I'm painting up this Lord Discordant. I was just talking about it on my web
What
class.
are the odds? What are the odds we randomly get paired, Kenny?
Oh,
that'll be a quick game.
Who's in charge of pairing? I will talk.
I don't know. I got to pay. I got to slip someone like $5 to make sure I'm not paired with you on the first round.
I always tell this one. So me and Chris only got to play that one time in the old Gilmartin Beats Lab, and I always tell everyone when anyone who will listen, I was like, he is the saltiest little bitch ass gamer. And then they laugh, and I'm like, that's how you know he's real though. We're all salty ass gamers. Like, none of us are happy when we're not winning.
Yeah.
Even I've been to
death, man. It's life and death. Although, can I tell people that I wound up
killing
charging and killing Abaddon with my termite drill?
It happened. He did.
Oh, that was one of my favorite moments, Kenny.
I won't forget it.
And that was the only bit of vengeance I had for getting curb stomped so hard by your cultist wave.
He did. He's like, I'm coming in. I don't give a fuck. And what is it, like the melta that keeps doing mortal wounds if you keep rolling?
It's the drill. You keep rolling for mortals.
And he kept rolling these goddamn mortals. And I'm like, Abaddon's running out of wounds, dog.
Glorious.
Pimp goes down.
Those termites, man, I'm telling you.
They're super fun. I think somebody said it in chat too. I've always been of the opinion that a game store is basically a bar for nerds, and it's definitely a service related thing. I'm very interested in your business model personally. I've developed one myself, and I'd love to talk to you sometime about it, off the air and stuff. But yeah, it's a really interesting, and somebody was like living the hobby dream right there, and it's cool,
It's crazy. It's kind of was Mike's, Gilly's brainchild, kind of structurally how it works. And really our whole thing is, if we can wind up cutting even, breaking even and making rent and paying for the internet and paying for the electric bill, we've won. We win at life, But
here's the thing, Chris, getting back to what you were just saying about, being Kenny's alleged statement that you're salty. We'll just leave it.
Allegedly a salty ass bitch.
Allegedly.
Unconfirmed reports of bitch assness. No. So But see, that's what you keep. You guys opened it. You from the get go. You're like, this is going to be a clubhouse, and I've seen it's 2019, and I've seen this over and over and over. You guys knew what you're getting into. You did it a certain way, and I'm super stoked that you said that, because I've said this to a lot of people in the past week in this town, is that a lot of folks they cook out on their grill, but they know I'm not going to open a restaurant. I changed my oil in my driveway, but I'm not going to open a service station. But there is a unproportionately high number of hobbyists that are like, I love the hobby, I'm going to open a game store. And they're not true with themselves. And sometimes maybe they're misled by some other people as well into the hobby store life. And then it doesn't exactly work out. I mean, small businesses in general, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it's tough. The economy's tough.
Yeah, it's a rough gig.
What shocked us was when we started doing this, I remember thinking, well, come on, man, we're going to invite, kind of friends and family or whatever and keep it really tight. Come on, you can't ask friends to pay, a monthly thing, So yeah, but you go to the gym and you do your thing. And I felt so awkward, asking someone to come in and, pay a monthly thing so we can keep it running. But the more we kind of went with it, I was very pleasantly surprised to find so many of our people. Granted, Irvine's it's like a nerd nexus because you have so many video game companies around, and a gamer's a gamer as far as I'm concerned. There were so many people that were hip to the idea. They're like, oh my God, when can I come and sign up? I'm like, really? You'd pay, X amount of money? Because we all play in each other's kitchens and living rooms, like that's the truth, or maybe I think a very small segment of people might go to the local hobby shop or even find a GW to go play. So I was like really pleasantly surprised to find like a place where we can all go. It's like, I want to be part of that, I want to, and it turns out to have been a really good idea. And I don't know where we'll take that idea. But in a really weird way, I would say I would like to encourage whoever's hearing this podcast or whatever, think it through with your pals. Maybe there's a place you can afford, but kind of going out on a limb and finding a way to find a place that people can be drawn to and feel safe to come and jam and play is such a wonderful thing these days. Because like I was saying, whether you're a interactive gamer or a tabletop gamer, ultimately it is about other people. It is about community. I used to say at Blizzard all the time, we can build the biggest game in the world, and if it just doesn't bring people together, like ultimately your relationship to the community is the product. And that's a really funky thing to say, and it's a funkier thing to get, but it's so true, because like for a video game company or even Games Workshop, whatever, you put a product out that people dig, but if you can pull them in and get them talking to each other and get them, kind of just feeling like they're in it together, that community is more likely they'll roll with whatever you roll with next, the next game, or, come and try, Titanicus, or come and try whatever. You get people along for the ride. And that's where you build, I don't know, like a really strong community, So anyway, I'm rambling, but finding a place where people can come together is an amazing thing.
This clubhouse idea is awesome because we always say, me and Rob have been talking about this for years, where it's like when a game starts to fail, they almost always say like, well, what if we just turn it into a club? What if we just turn it? By then it's too late. But I like the idea of you started it kind of like the 40K gym membership.
Totally.
I love that. I think it's sick, and I think it's a smart model.
It's leg day,
Yep, got to go get my reps in today. Get that ass beat.
Exactly. I gotta carry them Titans in. We're gonna work on our core. So
that's what I love about it too, is that you never know. People might just roll in with like, hey, let's play some Star Wars Legion. Hey, let's play some, Kill Team. It's just I love that you can walk in and you might find whatever that night. That's really cool.
As we're approaching our conclusion of the show, I do want to just reiterate, like I'll be down there, War Chief, for the tournament. Assuming I'm allowed to, I'm actually trying to bring my cameraman with me.
Cool.
So somebody in chat was like, "Oh, if you and Chris play, it's got to get filmed." I was like, "Don't worry." Like I'm not.
No, that cannot happen. Yeah, I don't want any photographic evidence of how hard I get stomped by you.
Oof.
And
dude, like I played him at BAO for a battle report. It's a fun game.
Yeah. And don't worry, when I'm done with the edit, it'll look amazing.
the magic of editing, yes.
Everything will be taken out of context.
I promise you, 100%. No, but I'm definitely looking forward to going down. Gilly's been trying to get us down there, do a painting class. Yeah. And finally it's the summer. We can start thinking about these things and pleasantly surprised.
Come out there. It's the summer at some point.
Yep. He's talking about getting Wyatt out here to do a tandem airbrushing class, I think.
Yeah, maybe I could come out too. It's like right down the street. I can just get in my car and be there.
Well, you'd have to fly.
Yeah, it's only like a 30-hour drive. You'll be good.
Yeah, that's easy. That's some shit.
Rob has an irrational fear of flight, just in case you didn't know, Chris, and so he's not going to come.
No, I just wouldn't come by plane. That's all.
Yeah, dude. Do it like do all Blues Brothers, man. You got to leave at midnight, half tank of gas, and you're wearing sunglasses. Like, what could go wrong?
And we're wearing sunglasses.
No,
there hasn't been one Ricky Bobby quote this whole time, guys. Is that bad? Is that under?
I haven't known what to do with my hands. So
there you go.
There it is.
And George had one earlier where he's like, I'd like to quote the late, great Colonel Sanders, who said, I'm too drunk to taste this chicken.
And also, in case you guys missed it, Rob did actually open with one where he said, I live my whole life by that. He actually opened.
I even threw in a Dewey Cox reference that nobody heard. So I was a little dejected by that.
I'm sorry. I do want to say to Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. And all jabbing aside, that last game we played was awesome. I look forward to our next games. Playing at War Chief, doing it. It's been too long. Haven't been able to get out to Irvine for like 8 months or something.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for having me on tonight. It was fun to talk with all you guys and kind of check in a little bit. Thank you.
It lies to her. It tells her things only a child can understand. It's been using her to restrain the others. To her, it simply is another child. But to us, it is the beast.
I am the hammer. I am the sword in his hand. I am the gauntlet about his fist. I am the bane of his foes and the woes of the treacherous. I am the end.